You are listening to Show Me Caves, the most fascinating stories from the cave state. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Show Me Caves. I'm your tour guide, Evie Rodenbaugh, and this podcast is dedicated to exploring the cultural, recreational, industrial, and environmental impact of caves on Missouri history. A little bit of background about this project. I have been a seasonal tour guide at the Mark Twain Cave in Hannibal, Missouri for 4 years now. Working at the cave made me realize this passion I had for the culture surrounding caves in Missouri. It also helped me realize my passion for public history. I'm currently a graduate public history student at the University of Illinois Springfield, and when I was asked to create a digital project, I knew I had to pay homage to where I'm happiest, caves. I hope you stick around to learn more. Let's dive in. According to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, there are approximately 7,500 caves in the state of Missouri. More are continuing to be discovered, and Tennessee is the only state that has us beat for number of caves. They have about 10,000 caves in Tennessee, but the amount of show caves that are open to the public in Missouri is unmatched. But wait, why are there so many caves in Missouri? It's about to get sciencey, so stick with me here. But large parts of Missouri have what's called a karst topography. Much of the land is underlain by this soluble carbonate bedrock such as limestone or dolomite. Karst bedrock is porous. It contains many fissures or cracks, and this allows water to seep in. Water can pick up acidity through plant life, dirt, or other carbon sources, creating carbonic acid. As this acidic water seeps into the ground, it dissolves the porous rock, and over time this creates caves, underwater streams, sinkholes, and springs. It takes most caves a few million years to form, and some even closer to 100 million. For example, long before the Mississippi River was a river, it was actually a large inland sea. As sea creatures throughout time left their shells behind, the shells accumulated on the seabed floor. They were smashed together and created limestone, a rock that is easily dissolved. Acidic water found empty spaces within that limestone and began draining into and flowing through it. 100 million years later, the water is gone, and we are left with a cave. If you're not very well versed in cave terminology, never fear. Here are some basic words you should know. A show cave is a cave that is open to the public, and they often provide tours. Wild caves are caves that are not open to the public. Some wild caves have been discovered, and some have even been fully explored. Speleothems, or living formations, are rock formations that grow and change throughout time. Once a cave is formed, water still continues to make its way inside. When the water comes in contact with the air of the cave, it releases carbon dioxide. This allows the mineral calcium to deposit, creating formations made of what we call calcite. Let's break that down a bit more. Stalactites are a type of living formation resembling icicles. As water comes into the cave, it leaves a ring of minerals or rock on the ceiling. This ring continues to build until it creates a hollow soda straw. The minerals eventually start to run into one another, closing the hole of that straw. The water has no option but to deposit its minerals on the outside of the straw. This creates our icicle of stone. Water from the stalactites drip onto the floor. These minerals build up like a mountain, creating a stalagmite. Most stalactites will have a stalagmite below them, and if they grow together until they touch, it's called a column. Living formations can take on multiple shapes and sizes. Flowstone has this flowing appearance, rimstone has tiny pools of water within it, and draperies resemble curtains, and that's not even the half of it. It's really cool to see how this water, rock, and carbon interact to create these really beautiful formations within our caves. And while we like to call these formations living, Missouri caves are actually home to a variety of wildlife. Caves house small fish, salamanders, frogs, worms, snails, insects, spiders, millipedes, amphipods, isopods, decapods, harvestmen, pseudoscorpions, and you called it, bats. Listing all of the different species and subspecies found within Missouri caves would be an episode in and of itself. They all play a very important role in a cave's ecosystem, but many cave creatures, including bats, are at risk. The truth is that human interactions with caves have impacted wildlife in negative ways. White nose syndrome is the most prevalent example. That's a fungal infection that humans bring into caves, and it grows over the noses of bats. This disturbs their hibernation period or causes them to suffocate, and we have seen a significant decrease in our bat population in Missouri Show caves since white nose syndrome was introduced. Many organizations are trying very hard to keep our caves safe, and they are linked in the show notes on our website. If you're interested in learning more about geology, speleology, or animal life within Missouri caves, I would highly recommend checking out the website, checking out the show notes, as most future episodes will focus primarily on the historical study of caves. At the end of the day, the science of our caves isn't the only reason why Missouri is known as the cave state. Caves have been used throughout history as water sources, oases from the summer heat, playgrounds, storage cellars, mines, you name it. They capture the imagination of many with their mysterious dark passageways and miles of unknown mazes. Caves slowly carved themselves into the lives of Missourians over the 19th and 20th centuries. The Missouri Geological Survey created the first geological map in 1872, wildlife discoveries were made in the Ozarks in the 1880s, and the Mark Twain Cave became the first show cave in Missouri in 1886. But what really kicked off a massive interest in caving was J. Harlan Bretz's 1956 book, Caves in Missouri. Bretz had personally visited many caves in the state of Missouri, focusing on their speleological features and formations. The organization of the Missouri Speleological Society was actually founded shortly after to continue Bretz's goal of mapping and cataloging caves in Missouri. So while caves did play a large role in Missouri history up until 1956, this book by Bretz was a big moment in the organization of the Missouri Speleological Survey, and thus the presence of show caves in the state of Missouri. And with this increased awareness of the vast worlds below, commercial caves rose in popularity. Increased curiosity also leads to increased interactions, and many were ill-informed about safety precautions and conservation. And to keep this relationship between humans and caves one of respect, the Missouri Cave Resources Act was passed in 1981. Acts like this one protect caves both on private property and government-owned lands. If we want to talk about land in Missouri, we have to talk about those who originally presided over it. Missouri, named after the Missouria tribe, was occupied by the Kickapoo, Shawnee, Iowa, Illini, Oto-Missouria, Delaware, and Osage tribes before the Indian Removal Act of 1830. A lot of caves in Missouri only have documented history readily available to the public. Some caves in Missouri are very in touch with their history before its first documented discovery, and some are not. There is a lot that is not known or verified about Native American presence in many caves across the state due to, a lack of study and cave conditions that are not ideal for preservation. The oldest human traces found in a Missouri cave date back roughly 10,000 years ago, but there is still speculation about the roles that caves played in the lives of Native Americans in Missouri. Some may have used caves for shelter, storage, or even ceremonial purposes. The relationship is kind of vague, but this podcast wants to make an effort to acknowledge any and all Native American stories found during the research process. Believe it or not, a majority of Missouri caves are privately owned. This fact also plays a role in the knowledge available to the public, as they largely rely on oral storytelling for their history to be preserved. I want to continue this tradition of oral storytelling, but I also want to expand upon its limitations by using supplemental sources on our website. For visual aids, show notes, and references for each podcast episode, visit showmecaves.wordpress.com. So by now, you should be an expert in Missouri show caves, why we're called the cave state, how caves are formed, the role that they play in our history, etc. But if you want to learn more, stick around for the next episode. We are talking about Mark Twain Cave and literature. How did a Hannibal Labyrinth cave inspire one of America's most celebrated authors? And how did Mark Twain impact one of America's most celebrated caves? See you next time on Show Me Caves, the most fascinating stories from the cave state.